Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of the Cinematropolis.com, your home to thoughtful conversations on film. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and today we are closing out our 2026 deadCenter coverage for the year. If you're watching this, the festival wrapped up last Sunday, so it's all happening in the past, but that does not mean that there are not a multitude of amazing films to talk about from the festival that you can kind of keep your eyes on moving forward. We're going to be joined today by our eyes and ears man on the ground, Daniel Bokemper. He's a contributor here at the Cinematropolis, Flick Attack. He's also the vice president of the Oklahoma Film Critics Circle. Daniel, welcome back to the show.
Hey, eyes and ears and beard, man.
You left I forgot the beard.
Always mention it, Caleb. We've talked about it. No, yeah. Thank you so much for having me. And again, it's always a great opportunity to cover this festival.
Well, if you didn't notice, I wanted to let everyone know exactly what we were going to talk about today. So we're going to start by talking about the short films before we talk that Daniel watched the festival, as well as discuss the narrative feature films. I was not present on the ground this year, unfortunately, having recently relocated to Seattle. However, I was privileged enough to be invited to talk to do a judge for narrative features. So I have a little bit to say there, but otherwise, Daniel Bokemper is our eyes and ears on the ground at the festival. So, Daniel, I did not see any of the short films. Maybe we can start by talking about a few of the shorts. So, what were a few of the shorts films, or maybe shorts films blocks that you want to highlight for our listeners?
Yeah, so I'll call out the blocks that I watched and dial into a few of the ones that really stuck out to me. But again, it is difficult because they're all really good and they're all really well programmed. And this year especially, they just felt very well positioned. And curate kind of feels like the wrong word, but they were very well, I guess, ordered more specifically. And just a lot of connective tissue between these films that were ultimately made completely separately. Which just goes to tell you the power of sort of that, that zeitgeist and that collective, psyche we share. But either way, I think I'll start with the once in a lifetime shorts, which is really, in the years past, they've done like youth and revolt and like coming of age style shorts. This one is like, the descriptor they use for it, deadCenter uses, is stories that cover, the journey from womb to the tomb. So this like idea of like, you're going to have a film that represents essentially every approximate segment of life. And they do a pretty damn good job at it. And the film that really, hits really hard out the gate is Clay, it's a film by, I think he's a Swedish director. I may be wrong, but it's Kevin. And I'm so sorry. Get ready for some butchered names. I think this is Heffelin, maybe Kevin Heffelin. I apologize, but his short film is Clay, and it's the story of a baby that emerges from like a plaster egg in a really big city, and sort of just there's this kind of cosmic force that is kind of pushing this baby through a journey of the city and sort of learning all of the sights and the sounds. And it's very like, there's no dialogue. It's just a baby cooing. It's not, by definition, before we get people hopping on us saying we don't know what a Dogma 95 film is, it's not shot as Dogma 95. All I mean is this baby is put in just, they're being filmed like live on location, and it's a very densely populated city. So there's a lot of people moving around. There's a lot of hustle and bustle, which made me, in the piece I wrote about this one, this block, the once in a lifetime block, it feels to me sort of like the documentary like Sam Sarah, which is, it's a documentary about a bigger trilogy, but it's like the most recent one that I think came out in like 2008 or 2009, relatively late 2000s, early 2010s. That is just no dialogue, but glimpses of humanity moving through life. And I feel like this film, by way of this little baby girl we're following around, you kind of get that massive humanity, and it's done in just a really well and just beautiful and sort of wondrous and whimsical way, even though and it suspends your disbelief really easily. I mean, magical realism, it gets it gets a free pass to just like, make you not question things like, how did this baby get a ticket on this boat and ferry and get sailed across this harbor? Like, it doesn't matter. It's just really beautiful. So yeah, Clay by Kevin Heffelin, it opened The short
Nice.
block, the one that followed it, I really like too. That one's called Hatchlings. It's by Jamil Edie. It's a story of a teenage girl who her stepbrother and stepmom, or excuse me, she lives with her dad and then her stepmom and her stepbrother. And her stepmom is pregnant. It's on the eve of her about to give birth um, to another baby girl, and Reese is very just not feeling connected with her current family, feeling annoyed by her little brother, and it uses the metaphor of like Galapagos tortoises and sea turtles to explain
Mm-hmm.
the differences between her and her little brother in a very interesting and very visual way. And it's also just a very sentimental. And again, you go to deadCenter, you have to prepare that you are going to go and get punished a little bit by
Oh yes.
or if anything you're going to have
If
some
you're not
emotional
weeping at
weight.
least once, did you really make the right Dead Center
I
schedule?
cried in I'm pretty no, not every single shorts block, but two of them bare min made me cry, and this was one of them. Not this particular short film, but it is still nonetheless very tragic, sweet, and just really tender. And again, that's Hatchlings, excuse me, by Jamil Edie. Check that one out. The winner of the best short film, I believe, not Oklahoman short, but just short in general, was Nervous Energy.
Nice.
That is from director Eve Leo, and it's directed by her. It's produced by Spike Lee. I imagine she
The man.
was a student of his. You know, that guy seems to have influenced a lot of short filmmakers. I feel like last year, I can't remember the name of it, but I think it was the shorts winner was also produced by Spike Lee as well. So
I think he's teaching at NYU these days, I
NYU,
believe. So I wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if he's got a lot of
yeah.
students who come
his
through.
his students be running wild on deadCenter these last 2 years. I think I'm pretty
Spike
sure.
Lee, you're coming to Dead Center.
I
Spike Lee,
know.
let's go. Come on.
God. Hopefully, OKC and the Knicks never face off anytime soon because he will revoke all of that. He will disallow his students' films from being showed at OKC. Not really. Hopefully not. Thank you, Spike Lee, for influencing these people. But thank again, Eve Leo, for just a really great short. Again, it's Nervous Energy. It's about two young women who I believe are. It's in America, but it's both Chinese, Taiwanese descent. It's complicated, but there's a very big cultural influence on it. But they're both basically about to become adults, and they're very aware that they're going to have to make some hard decisions in their life. Both of them have partners that one of them is really gung ho about leaving so she can get
Mhm.
her artistic career off the ground, and she just wants to kind of run full sprint. It's kind of one of those things where it's like you're naive but you're determined, and you're nervous, but and you're afraid, but you've got to start making some decisions and have some accountability over your life. And these two friends, Jay and Kiki, Jay being the one that wants to kickstart this artistic career, Kiki the one who's very reluctant, they kind of come to blows, unfortunately, and it sort of creates a huge rift in their friendship. But it's captured in such a short amount of time, and it's done with such great explosive and emotional acting, and ultimately just a film that's great. I love movies about artistic expression. It's going to come up more than once over the
Mhm.
course of this conversation, but I think it's just done so well, and it's just really funny,
Mhm.
which helps. But yeah, that's Nervous Energy by
That
Eve,
one, and it won
and that
best
one best
best short
short.
film.
Yeah, not
Nice.
best Oklahoman short, but um,
Short film.
best short
The
film. Yeah,
festival. Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah,
Great
yeah.
recommends. And those were
Right.
all those were in the once in a lifetime block?
Yes, and the one I want to just call out from the end of that one is the one that kind of covers sort of near the end of life, Force Field of Love, which again, just a really short mini doc by Liz Moskowitz and Riley Engmone, I believe is his last name, about an older couple, Dan and Doris Montgomery, who have been married for about 3 years after meeting online. They are both widows who were previously married each separately for 30 years until both their spouses eventually passed away, found each other, but they're still very youthful, very sexually charged, and just very eccentric. And it's such a nice meditation on living your life to your fullest, no matter how old you are. And it's a documentary that just captures it. I always it's always easy to want to get more out of a short film and be like, man, if this was a feature, it needed more time to breathe. And I want to say that, but I also don't want to be prescriptive, because I feel like this one just captured exactly what it wanted to say so well and succinctly, and it just felt like a very like masterfully made documentary despite being super short. And again, the subject matter, these people, I moderated this shorts blog, just full candor, and we had a few filmmakers there, including the filmmakers of this documentary. Great people. If the subjects of this documentary were there, Dan and Doris Montgomery, I was joking with Alex Palmer of the Oklahoma Film Society that, like, if Dan and Doris were there, everyone else, we're sorry, filmmakers, just sit down. I think this couple is going to be who everyone wants to talk to. So yeah, it was a really good documentary, and yeah, those were all in the once in a lifetime shorts. If you want to hear about some of the other ones, those were also still great films. We just don't have time to cover everything, but you can catch that on the article I wrote on the Cinematropolis.
That was all from the Once in a Lifetime Shorts block. Very cool. Again, we don't have time to talk about every single short today, but I know that was a block you wrote about and very passionate about. So that's super exciting. So what were some of the other like shorts blocks or films from any particular block that you'd like to call out?
Yeah, so I want to call a couple of the All Dogs Go to DeadCenter shorts. These are all films that they don't
the doggies.
Yeah,
the doggies.
A lot of them star dogs. A good amount of them or at least about dogs, but a good chunk of them actually do star dogs. So we're pushing for that animal performer.
Does Robert Downey Jr. show up playing the dog in this one? Right?
No. Martin Freeman. But we got Martin Freeman if you want some star power.
Oh, there we go.
One of them.
Bilbo himself. Okay.
He did not play. It was not a Hobbit adaptation of all of the Hobbits are replaced with wiener dogs, though. I really wish
I would watch the hell out of that.
I would, dude. If fucking Gandalf was like an old basset hound with his like pipe, I would. Yeah, that I don't think I'd ever watch another film. Honestly, we could just. Shut everything down.
Hobbit remade with dogs only.
Give us the doggo cut. But yeah, no, the All Dogs Go to Short was great. I'll go through these quickly. They were great. Also emotionally jarring. Who knew? Dead dogs. So
the dogs die. The dogs do die in the block. Oh no! Many. Oh my god!
I'm so sorry. More than one. And I happen to talk about the two or the three. And oh my god, 3 of the 4 films I'm realizing.
Well, the dog. I guess you got to get to heaven somehow.
I picked all the ones where the dogs die. I'm so sorry, or are about death tangentially. I'm so sorry.
I'm making a note for my wife who loves dog content. That she will not be watching these short blocks that Daniel is recommending.
Lauren, you can skip this part. That's all we're saying. But yeah, so the first one is a really conflicting one. It's called Blondie. It's by Jack Salvadori. It's Hitler's dog biopic. So it's about Adolf Hitler's dog. Famously had a dog named Blondie. I think all of the female German shepherds in the film gives a little bit of historical context that famously the Nazis love their German shepherds. The German shepherds are great dogs well before they became a symbol that was associated with Nazis. Germany. But the females specifically, a lot of them were mostly called Blondie, and including Hitler's his female German shepherd was named Blondie as well. And it's really well made, very, very well performed. It's not trying to give you like sympathy for Hitler or anything. It's not like a Nazi apologist piece, of course, but it does make you, it's hard not to feel bad for someone when they're like, because we basically go from the relative beginning of this dog's life where Hitler has, started to already come into power all the way until his death, and his dog really dies with him. And you kind of, it sucks. It's weird because it's like, no, I don't want to like feel something for Hitler, but it's like the love people have for a dog, their pets especially, can be.
You're just saying one of his most redeeming qualities is that he loved his dog.
At least this film portrays it as that he loves his dog, and I mean, it's these films challenge you, and this was a pretty challenging one, but it was really well made. I can't deny that.
Even monsters love dogs, guys.
Even monsters love dogs.
Who doesn't love dogs?
Right. And yeah, while it is banned in Germany to name any child Hitler, you could still it has a little bumper at the end of the film that's like, it is strongly discouraged that you name any dog Blondie in Germany now, and that's real. I looked it up later, and I'm like, oh, this is actually accurate. So very interesting, and it's a good segue. And again, these shorts were programmed so well because the subsequent one was Little Bug, which is a film by Matt Branston. This is the one that stars Martin Freeman. It's another point of view dog story, but it centers around Laika, who was the Soviet Union astronaut, I guess, dog-astronaut that was sent into space in 1957. And yeah, let's not send dogs into space because they're not going to come back if we do.
What?
Yeah, right. Who knew the dog couldn't come? Yeah, I don't think they sent the dog with the intent that it could make it back. They just wanted to see what would happen. And it's really about, the Martin Freeman kind of plays the scientist that's involved, and they're trying to be nice to this dog before she's ultimately launched into space. But it's also, you get the perspective of Martin Freeman's character's daughter, who is just very emotionally attached to this dog, despite only having her for a little bit. And you get this idea of this dog knows what's coming, kind of. And the film is shot very beautifully. Again, another period piece about a famous dog, from that famous dog's perspective, that's just really emotionally jarring and great. And weirdly, it's not the last time we hear about Laika in the shorts blog, because the next one, which is an animated short called With Tapes and Toasts in the Car, it's from Kiana, I think it's Nagshine. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce it. I probably did. But it's about a young woman who, in a very stylistic, just really cool, very loud animated short film about a woman who, it's not really said explicitly what she has, but it's essentially a terminal illness. It's safe to presume it's some form of cancer. And it seems like she's going through treatment, and it just doesn't seem to be taking entirely. And her family is slowly coming to terms with that. And herself is coming to terms that she's going to probably pass away. But the way they illustrate it and the metaphor they use is, it's like the universe is kind of leaking out of her. And amid this universe that she sort of sees and gets lost in, she runs into Laika, who's, traveling astronaut dog, who also had they're kind of commiserating in that they have this, they both have a finite life. It doesn't mean it's nonetheless valuable, but it's, it's painful and it's hard, and they sort of find each other in that way, and it helps the young woman who's the center of this film kind of come to terms with that, and sort of, it's still grieving, but I don't know, it's just a very, very healing film in a lot of ways too. And again, that was With Tapes and Toasts in the Car. But I'm sorry I cut you off, Caleb. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, you're good. Yeah. Was there any other ones from the All Dogs Go to deadCenter block you want to call out?
Yes, just one more. Zolo. This one is a film by Matthew Serrano. Just an awesome film. It's about Xolo. It's a dog. Most people mistake them for Chihuahuas. It's actually a Mexican hairless dog. The small ones look like Chihuahuas, and the dog that stars in this film looks like a Chihuahua.
So not like, is it like the Taco Bell dog?
I think that is like it's similar, but that is a straight Chihuahua. This is a dog that's probably related to the Chihuahua, but not quite. And it's basically a dog who suddenly, while it's a dog named Skippy, who, while they're hanging out in their owner's apartment, while their owner is seemingly asleep, not entirely sure, the god of the Aztec god of death, maybe god of death, maybe just Lord of the Underworld, Exolotl, emerges, and it's a very funny, almost Reservation Dogs esque exchange between this, this god essentially, and this little dog, and very funny, very tender, very stylistic, but also just really well made. And again, I believe that's Xolo, Xolo, by Matthew Serrano. And yeah, that is the last of the doggy ones, though. Again, there's three or four more films in there that are also emotionally devastating, but also really good. And you
What
might be
else?
able to catch
Yeah.
them in the virtual film festival
Yeah,
if you're
the
interested.
virtual film festival at deadCenter, which is still going on, deadcenterfilm.org, and I believe you can still get a virtual pass if I'm not mistaken. So
Yep.
again, I would check if you're listening or watching this podcast on YouTube. I would check out if you're curious the deadCenter virtual film festival because yeah, they have a lot of, especially with the shorts, they put a lot of the good stuff on there. So
Yeah.
pretty rad.
And if you can't catch that, if you happen to be in the Tulsa area, on the I think it's like the 25th or 26th.
Yes.
That weekend of the 26th, they are doing a extension of the film festival in Tulsa as well. A lot of this stuff, I don't know off the top of my head if everything is showing at least
Oh, a
once,
lot of
but
exclusives. The programming
did
team
they?
told us in the preview there was a lot of stuff they specifically put exclusive to Tulsa.
To Tulsa. Okay.
Yeah,
Good to
yeah.
know.
But there might be some overlap for sure. But I know like the feature, like the kind of like headliners and stuff were all exclusive. I think there was in fact, I think there was also an exclusive shorts block that is only in Tulsa. Rebels Without a Cause. I think it was the Rebels Without a Cause. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Tulsa's getting some goods that OKC isn't, you know.
Hey, well, go see it anyway. Even if you can't catch these ones, you know, you're going to find still some good stuff there. And yeah, that was pretty much all of the dog blocks. I also wrote and was able to catch the Midnight Shorts block as well. Just a couple
one of our favorites. Very much Cinematropolis flavor.
Very weird. It's horror mixed with some absurdity and weirdness. There's just three that I really want to call out from there that I loved. One is Damsel in Geek Stress by Renaud Para. It's a French film about a sort of young nerd girl who kind of lives in her bedroom and obsesses over video games and collectible figurines and the high tension.
I get it.
Know, right? It's us. It's our movie. As my Warhammer collection grows over here. I get it. But it's basically a pre-release or a pre-order that's about to go live. If anyone who's ever, hey, Caleb, last year when we were trying to buy our Switch 2s, which were more abundantly stocked than we thought they would be, but at the time it felt like they weren't.
It did not make we weren't sure what it was going to be. It was really hard to get. It was either way. It was hard. It was enough. It was a mad sprint to get your pre-orders in.
Exactly. Anyone who has ever been a part of that very modern,
or maybe even just trying to buy the tickets for the Odyssey when those went live, because it was very difficult to do. No, it was very difficult to do.
AMC falling asleep at the wheel. Just like Best Buy did when the Switch 2 came out. But it's that. It's if you've ever lived through that tension, it's sort of a horror thriller built on. Yeah, and it can be scary. But yeah, that was Damsel in Geek Stress. Another one I really liked was Stairs by Riley Donegan. I'm not going to say too much about this film because I don't want to spoil it, and it is a little bit insane, but it's basically a short film. I would say it's most related to like David Cronenberg's Crash, in which it's about a woman who is recently engaged and finds out that what is unlocking her kind of deepest sexual desire, or what is her deepest sexual desire, she learns, is throwing herself down flights of stairs. So you can imagine that's a real
there'll be a plot energy right there.
Is that Hope Core? Is this Hope Core? This is like Project Hail Mary basically in film form. I'm just kidding. It's the complete opposite.
Yeah. It's good. Suicidal Core? I don't know. We probably should make that.
I don't think she wants to kill herself. I think she just wants to throw herself downstairs. I don't know. Hey, follow your dreams. Is all I'm gonna say.
I mean, I guess if the Jackass crew can do it and not die, so there you go.
Oh, that would have been a hell of a crossover.
Dan, what's the last one from the Midnight Shorts?
Yeah. That's Jealous People Are Ugly People. This is James.
Yikes!
Yeah, I know. What an intense title, and a really intense, well-made film. I think if of any of them, I know I gave a spiel earlier about how I don't want to push short films into doing feature-length things, but I think this is the one that probably had the most legs to be, just as far as the premise is concerned, to expand upon into something a little bit bigger than itself. It's basically about two friends who are reconvening. They've been friends for a very long time. One of them recently got a job that's just a really great job opportunity in which they get to travel a lot and be super creative. And they both went to school for the same thing. So the other one sort of vies after that. And he's happy for his friend, but he also can't help but be a little jealous. What he quickly realizes is that he has somehow absorbed a curse into his like right eye, that if he stares at somebody while he's actively being jealous, it's very high chance something very bad is going to happen to them in sort of a Final Destination style event. And it goes really far, does a lot in a very short amount of time, but it's also one of those things where I don't think we didn't get enough of it. I think we got the gist and it worked very effectively, but it's also in the era of, Talk to Me and Obsession being really well right now. This is kind of a borderline like cursed, even though it's someone's physical eye, it's like feels like a cursed object movie in a lot of ways. And I don't know, I just feel like this one has a lot of legs and could be easily, adapted to feature length, but it's really strong. And again, that one was called Jealous People or Ugly People. And then, beyond that, I just caught a couple Okie shorts.
Nice.
Really, there's only 3 I want to call out. One being He Brings the News. This is a kind of funny, touching, and a little bit terrifying short from John Selvage. It was also shot by, friend of the Cinematropolis, co-founder of the Cinematropolis, Jacob Burns, and produced by a lot of people we know, like Phil Leapot. Leah Philpott. I think, sorry. As well as I'm trying. God, I'm.
Is it Mickey Reese? I feel like was associated.
Mickey Reese, yes. Millie Reese and Alex Palmer, also executive producer.
Great crew. Good group of people.
Mickey's somewhat frequent co-writer of Country Gold. In fact, John Selvage is the one who wrote this one, and it's really about like a delusional couple who are kind of in this stagnant malaise. One of them is a lot more spiritual and mystical, and smokes a lot more weed than her husband, who is kind of a man baby, but they're both trying to just break free of their malaise. And they basically decide that the mailman may be a messenger, if not the living embodiment of the Egyptian god Isis. And that goes to some crazy directions, but it's a really funny one. And it was in a it was also showed up in Once in a Lifetime shorts, but it is one of the Okie shorts as well. And in the Once in a Lifetime shorts, it did give people an opportunity to laugh, which was kind of needed in a heavier block like that. But that one was really good. Again, that's He Brings the News. The other one I really liked that was an Okie short was, because I'm a sucker for any Don Quixote story, is The Night of the Sorrowful Figure. This is just it's from Caleb Fletcher, and it's just a solid little funny adaptation of a couple Don Quixote stories, along with his companion. And it's, I don't know, it's just, I could watch an old man yell at windmills and talk about chivalry in a very, very old, it's very much a like, okay, boomer, but the boomer's Don Quixote. It's a good, I don't know, it's a touching and kind of, I think, well-made, quirky period piece. But again, that was The Night of the Sorrowful Figure. And then the last one was actually the winner of Okie short. This one is called Basic Bandits. This is from Chris Diamond. It's really a heist. It's a story of friends and a really stupid heist they attempt to put together that almost goes wrong. It's just a really light, well-made, sort of funny jaunt. I would say, if I could compare it to the vibe of, some of the popular comedy nowadays, I would say you're going to hear, it feels a little Danny McBride-esque, but I think probably because I'm very fresh off of this one, Dan Levy of Schitt's Creek, his newest series, Big Mistakes, that he stars in, I feel like these two are sort of, almost companion pieces. And that one is very much, again, people who get way in over their head and are just dumbing their way through the situation. But it made us all, I think, ultimately, and I'll speak on behalf of the OFCC, we were, just full candor judging Okie shorts as well as Okie features, which we'll get to later. I do think this one was just sort of that universal, like, we all had different opinions on what, of what we truly felt was the best. And I think we could argue that for a lot, but we can't argue is that I think all of us at least really enjoyed this one. And so it found its way into pretty much all of our hearts in some way or the other. Nice. So again, that was Basic Bandits by Chris Diamond. That was the Okie short winner as well.
Best Okie short winner that was selected by the Oklahoma Film Critics Circle, which Daniel Bokemper is the vice president, for folks who had forgotten. And you guys also, full disclosure, I am still, I have some sort of weird emeritus status. I don't really know what that means, but I did not participate in the OFCC judging. But I do understand you also judge judged Best Okie Narrative Feature. I did not participate in that one. I did in a different category. We'll get in a second. But what would you guys pick for Best Okie Feature?
Yeah, so that was a tight race. There was two that really were pretty neck and neck, but ultimately what won is a film that actually, when we voted on it, it had a different name than what it ultimately has now and what it will likely be distributed as. And this film was called Gangland, but also known as Keep Quiet. Well, formerly known as Keep Quiet.
Originally Keep Quiet, retitled Gangland right before the festival.
Exactly. So if you search it now, I think you're going to have an easier time finding Gangland. But the thing is, if you see Lou Diamond Phillips, you're going to know that's the film that you're looking for. And this is Vincent Granshaw's. It's a very tense sort of dive into something that I'm a little unfamiliar with. I mean, it doesn't exist. I mean, gang violence and drug trafficking, whatever it may be, criminal activity can exist almost anywhere. But I don't know if people tend to realize that there is still indigenous gangs potentially, or at least crime families, I should say, and mafia. And this very much felt like sort of a delve into the basically a very jaded cop in the form of Lou Diamond Phillips working with a new trainee who's quite a bit more empathetic than he is. Not to say he doesn't have some redeeming qualities. He's pretty scary throughout the film, but
he gets very scary in the movie. Yes,
yeah, but and very powerful performances. I think Lou Diamond Phillips especially. Who I just remember Young Guns and him in that, but I know this is a little bit more mature film than that, but it's nonetheless just very harrowing, very powerful, very gripping, and again, very intrinsically Oklahoman, and just seeing a side of maybe indigenous culture. And I think we see a lot of indigenous films and indigenous filmmakers have been emerging lately, but we don't quite see something. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. And it's just it is a really tense crime drama that will kind of keep you on the edge of your seat. But what did you think, Caleb?
Oh, no, I really dug this movie a lot. So yes, full disclosure, I judged this as part of a panel for the best overall narrative feature. So Daniel and the OFCC group, all voting members, voted on best Oklahoma feature. I judged best narrative feature, and we also awarded the film, the jury, including me, awarded that best feature because honestly, it's just a really well-written, tightly knit, like a tightly wound crime thriller. The main comp I come to, it's not apples to apples because the subject matters are very different. The best comp I could come up with was that film, The Order, that came out a couple of years ago with Nicholas Hoult at the lead playing like this. In that one, he's playing a cult leader. And why it came to mind is that movie was very much exploring sort of like white supremacy, the roots of white supremacy in the current contemporary era, what that looks like. And it uses the crime thriller genre as a vehicle to kind of get at these like bigger ideas. And that film has happened. The main character in that happens to be the incredibly grizzled Jude Law.
Yes.
How does that relate to Keep Quiet / Gangland? I think that this film is similarly using the crime thriller vehicle. It has all the tropes. I mean, if you saw, there was that one movie that came out earlier this year, The Rip, that came out earlier this year with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. It has all the same tropes as that movie. Oh, you've got grizzled detectives. You've got, this is a sketchy area that you gotta look and bend the rules to get the shit done. Like, it's all of these tropes you've seen for decades. In the crime thriller genre. Now, I happen to be a huge sucker for a great crime thriller, crime drama. So it works immediately for me because it hooks you in with that sort of like, oh, I know what to expect, what to look for, who's going to do what. Okay. But the real thing it's getting at, though, as you said, is it's sort of exploring, the sort of game criminal violence on the reservation and the role of the officers who are tasked with overseeing the reservation, which, by the way, is separate from the state police.
Yeah.
And it's really looking at all the nuances of and sort of, what does that look like to be a law enforcement officer to try to keep people in line, to kind of keep the larger state or federal institutions off your land, essentially. You're trying to keep it in-house. but that even that task within itself can get very dicey and very tricky and very muddled in a
And
lot of ways.
the very powder keg situation too. It
Yes,
can just
yes.
take one wrong person being slighted, or in this case, a very a death, or a stabbing. I think, but I do believe it's ultimately a murder that just kickstarts
Yes.
a damn near war between two rival families, and but it does it with
Right.
such
Two rival
tact.
families and also two different branches of the police too. Like
Yeah,
there's a lot of politics.
it
Like I say
is.
politics and like in
It,
terms of like the dynamics of like who's against who's
yeah,
siding with who on what side. Is Lou Diamond Phillips a dirty cop, or is he actually just trying to look out for people? Like these are the
yeah.
questions you're kind of, as a viewer, kind of ask yourself as you watch
Yeah,
the
yeah,
film.
yeah. Plans within plans, to bring up
Yes.
Dune for no reason, but yeah, very much a deep, intricate story. And I think why it ultimately won both Oki features and Best Narrative Features is it's just a really compelling film.
Yes, I
Um,
know. I think it was when I watched in the, at least in the narrative feature category. It was a tough race. There was a lot of really excellent selections.
yeah,
I mean, I'll go over a couple of those in a minute, but I just have to say, like, Keep Quiet definitely showed up. I think in terms of the sort of features, and you were talking about the increasing quality that deadCenter is able to bring in. I mean, listen, I feel
yeah,
like every year there's like one or two, like, man, these are great. But this year in particular, I was like, I had 6 films to watch, and all of the narrative features were really top shelf, and Keep Quiet / Gangland among them, hitting on a topic that is again very close to the heart of Oklahoma history, the reservations in Oklahoma, but also, even if you don't really care about that stuff, and I have questions about that, but you could just watch it as a good old fashioned, like, less than 2 hour long crime thriller,
yeah,
crime drama, and walk away saying, man, that was a good time.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Very, very accessible in that way too.
very. Dan, what were some of the other? Were there any other Oki narrative features you want to call out?
There was one I just want to mention very briefly because again, we had a pretty tight race in the strictly Oki made stuff on our end between Keep Quiet and Gangland, but also a film that stuck out was Pale Night. This is a gothic horror that was filmed in Oklahoma by Austin and Colton Warren. Um, it it is about a basically a drug addicted um, professor doctor who is running essentially a boarding home and takes in with his wife, and a manager who looks over him, who happens to take in a Bible, a very crooked seeming young Bible salesman and his pregnant sister. It goes pretty deep in terms of the relationship between all these people, questioning their deepest held beliefs, whether that be their spirituality and their Christianity, or the doctor, who's a very staunch like atheist in the film. It sort of starts to beg philosophical questions towards him as well. But it's also channeling sort of that Robert Eggers very period piece, um, that lighthouse. I guess the lighthouse would be a good comparison visually for this film. All in black and white. It's good. I mean, I don't want to, like, the cinematographer for the lighthouse, very expertly trained and very deliberate. I don't know if this film is quite to that level, but it is still very good. And there are a lot of extremely good beautiful shots in this film. There is a lot of shots of just characters weeping that just slowly zoom in on them and are done in such a way that it's not disengaging. It doesn't feel like it's kind of, we're just trying to make some time for something. It just does feel all very, very trained and disciplined. And ultimately the story is really compelling and takes
Mhm.
some really crazy turns. So again, that's Austin and Colton Warren's Pale Night. Really, really like that one.
Very cool. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to see that one, but I did read the blurb about it. And I was like, that sounds very up my alley. So
Yeah.
I'll keep my eyes on that one. There was a couple of other narrative features I wanted to call out. It was while I would say the Keep Quiet and Gangland was our front runner and winner. It was a very intense discussion with me and the other jurists, and the next runner up I would say would have been She's the He, which I
Yeah.
believe won the best Pride feature this year.
Hmm.
Alternatively, I think so. It did take home an awards, and it's just sort of a trans coming of age story. It sort of starts as this kind of like hokey, kind of flamboyant comedy about like two teenage boys, and they kind of cross dress. They sort of like do a little bit cross dressing to kind of like hide in the women's locker room so they can avoid like bullies or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of them, turns out one of them is like, actually, I like doing this, and so the whole movie sort of exploring their journey, her journey,
Yeah.
sort of like, coming out and making this transition and having this realization about herself, which was really beautiful. And we've had a lot of coming of age flavors and, even with queer coming of age films, I mean, there's a few of those, but this was, I was like, I don't think I've seen a trans coming of age story quite like this. It's definitely done on probably what appears to be a shoestring budget. Really, what I think I like about it though, is it punches above its weight. The cast is excellent. And the editing is very Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Edgar Wright. Like there's a lot of booms and bangs and like flashes and stuff. And I won't spoil it. The climactic scene, I won't spoil it, is pretty hilarious. So that one is She's the He. I think that's going to be on the festival circuit for a little while. So even if you weren't able to catch it at deadCenter, I think that's one to keep your eyes open for at other film festivals.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sorry, I made a list here on a separate notepad. That was the big one. I would say the other one I would call out probably, and Daniel, this is one that I know you quite liked, was Mallory's Ghost.
Yeah.
But I'll let you tell us more about this one. But I would say premise. Daniel will tell us what the plot details. But it's sort of the way I looked at it is it's sort of a it's a ghost story, hence Mallory's Ghost. There's supernatural things happening, but it also leans into some other things that Caleb's really into that, like, maybe, well, I don't want to spoil it. It's hard sci-fi concepts that I really like, and then I was like, oh wow, we're going here, and all of it's built around how the relationships that we have in our life that come and go or stay shape our ability to create. So I found all that to be pretty compelling. Daniel, what did you think of this?
Yeah, no, and I'm going to echo a lot of that, and I will say, Caleb, you did a really good job. This is a film that's hard to like provide a premise for, because every little detail you give, you're like, well, I feel like I need to give this next thing. And then by the time you get to it, it's like very hard to describe what's happening.
It's a ghost story, though.
It is. That's accurate.
Yes.
It is. It's, but it's not like a straight horror film by any means. It's actually a little bit different than that. And I will say, despite it taking a lot of really big swings and, choosing to do something that's ultimately very metaphysical and would otherwise be maybe hard to convey, I think it does it in a very grounded and ultimately authentic way that I really love. And again, this was from Arabella Oz. She directed it, I believe, was like the lead writer. She also stars in it as Mallory. And then her co-director was her husband, Nick Kanalakis. I don't know. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Kanalakis. Yes. He is also the co-star as well. They obviously have a naturally really, really powerful chemistry. Makes sense. Being married and also being creatives who are just clearly very multi-talented. And it is, in a nutshell, ghost story, but also about finding the creative spark, kind of digging your past and unpacking some of the fears you have in a very vulnerable way. And I think this is an intensely vulnerable film, but it's also about artistic expression. And I will say, just to kind of piggyback off of what I wrote about this film, is that it's easy, art is reverential and it is spiritual, but sometimes it can be a little daunting when the ways we see art in which it's framed. We'll talk about another film that is aware that sometimes art is positioned in this way that feels very guarded and kind of prohibitive in a way that it makes it feel like, if you happen to be an artist or something like that, you also may be a little cold and a little again hard to reach and hard to connect with, even though art is ultimately supposed to be this very human thing. And I think Oz with this film really, really, really understands that. And so while this film does get deep into the ideas of how to summon art, how to pull from, what you fear the most in a lot of ways and what makes you the most insecure to create compelling art, it still also is aware that you got to be human when you do that. And that's really important, especially right now. So I think it just being both this crazy kind of metaphysical story, but also still never losing its sense of humanity and its need to actually be able to connect with people. I feel like that takes a hell of a lot of a discipline. I mean, I haven't
Mhm.
made a film myself, but like, I think with this, especially it being a first feature, um, it just feels so much more mature than what you would think normally from a first feature. And normally, um, I think what I always notice most with like first filmmakers is sometimes unless they have a really, really, really good editor, their dialogue and the way in which those conversations are edited on screen can come off a bit stilted and a bit hard, a bit, just a bit rigid. This one felt just surprisingly really, really, really fluid.
It's a very is
Yeah.
a highly competent first feature. I actually didn't
Yes.
realize this was their first feature, and I think
And
it's an outstanding showcase because I also, again, I can't get into the specifics of where this film goes actually, but what I will say is this is a very ambitious story. It's doing
yeah.
a lot of things. It's not only there's plot mechanics to it that make it a challenge, and then there's thematic threads that it's also trying to get at that are also challenging enough to reach. The fact that Oz was able to put this all in a debut feature is very impressive.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely going to keep an eye out for what she does next. She has done a few shorts throughout the years, basically since like 2013. I have not seen any of those to my knowledge. Again, this is her first feature film. But man, is it a good one? Is it a good one? So yeah, I'm really hoping this finds some kind of distribution. You'll have to see it.
Mallory's Ghost, too. Love
Yeah,
to see
Mallory
it.
Ghost.
Mallory's
Yeah.
Ghost. Daniel, you did a write up for us
Yeah.
over at the cinematropolis.com. So listeners or viewers, if you're watching on YouTube, should go check that out over on
please.
the website. Daniel, we're about out of time, but I think there was one more feature you wanted to talk about. Yeah.
This is Greg Araki's I Want Your Sex. It's his first feature film in I think about 15 years. I think maybe like Smiley Face may have been his last one. I'm not entirely sure, but around that era. And I Want Your Sex is it stars Olivia Wilde as a sort of an art mogul. She's a domineering personality. She's also happens to be kind of a dominatrix. And Cooper Hoffman, oh poor little Cooper Hoffman as her most recent
I mean, the guy
employee.
who had to do the long walk last year is now being subjugated to more punishment.
Yeah. If you think that was a physically intense role, please take a seat because this might beat it by a little bit. But this is he plays her new employee who she takes a fancy toward. And yeah, admittedly this is my first Iraqi film, and I know Laron Chapman is a longtime fan of his. He often speaks about Mysterious Skin as one of his favorite films.
Very,
It was
very formative film.
yeah, and filmed in Laron's hometown. It's in Kansas. It's crazy, and everything I've heard of that movie, including from you. I know you saw it when Laron presented it last year.
The last things I saw in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, because Lauren hosted a special screening of it at the Rodeo Cinema. Yeah,
Yep.
It's a tough watch, but in terms of just talking about how those Greg Araki is not afraid to go into some very dark and uncomfortable places. It relates to sort of the what shapes one's sexuality, what experiences can be a factor in that, both sexuality and psychology, and sort of how trauma and the how those things are adjacent and sometimes connected either through a straight line or dotted line, and sort of have the lifelong impacts those have on you. So anyway, that was Mysterious Skin. Excellent
that
film.
was Mysterious Skin.
Not an easy watch, but very great film. Now, I Want Your Sex, though, from what I hear, it's quite a bit different.
A little different, a little tonally different about a lot of this, what sounds like a lot of similar topic matters. I know Rocky's done other films that are about primarily dom and sub relationships. This one is definitely it talks about all of it, and I think a very deliberate and very, very direct way, but it's absolutely played for laughs, humor, it's a bit of a thriller in some ways, I think, arguably as well. It's like Laurent put it to me well. It's like if Luca Guadagnino with like Call Me by Your Name and Bones and All, and his adaptation of Suspiria. Well, it's like watching Challengers as your first film of Luca's. Like if Challengers is all you seeing, you might have a completely different impression about what this filmmaker actually is. Not necessarily what he's writing about, but how he chooses to explore it. And yeah, with this Iraqi, I think he is generally, as you put it, Caleb, a little heavier, a little more maybe dramatic, not trying to play for some goofy laughs. Even though, again, this film actually, I think, arguably does get very emotionally jarring and serious in its own ways. But again, it ultimately is a little bit more lighthearted. But still, I think all the more deliberate, just two really great performances leading it with Olivia Wilde and Cooper Hoffman, who just basically is getting humiliated, used, and abused throughout the film, even though he thinks he really, really wants it. And to some extent he does. But it goes into some ridiculous tangents, and it's got some just great imagery. I think throughout it.
Don't spoil it, but I understand there's a lot of cameos in there too.
There are very many cameos. There's a cameo by one person who will perpetually remind you that and he happens to play a police investigator who's, I won't spoil who it is, but he happens to be interrogating Cooper Hoffman, and he doesn't make a single joke. This actor who everyone will pretty much immediately recognize, who does happen to have another film coming out later this year. You will recognize him, but he makes no jokes. But despite that, you know that his mere presence in this film is letting you know that you don't need to take it like
too seriously.
Yeah. Things are going to be a little less, things are going to work out somehow with
Cooper Hoffman's character. Well, I haven't seen this film. It did play. It also played here at the Seattle International Film Festival. Unfortunately, I was unavailable, sort of moving from one home to another. But I have talked to some of the film critics here in the Seattle area, and they spoke very highly of the film. They said it was sold out 2 shows at Seattle.
I believe that's it. Cool. This was very packed, and also just an incredibly just Hail Mary kind of get. That again, Laurent happened to have a connection with one of the producers, but also Paris.
I think it sounds like based on the preview, it sounds like Paris really went after this one big time.
Yes. Yeah. And I am so thankful they did, because it is a really fantastic, funny film. Probably shouldn't bring your parents to it. You can if you want. Might be a little weird, but it's it's just really, really good.
Well, good news for listeners and viewers. If you're not sure if you want to go there, you have a choice, because on July 31st, Magnolia Pictures have picked this up. So it currently has a release date of July 31st.
It does. Yeah.
I'm not sure how wide that release is going to be at this point in time, but it will be available to people to watch sooner rather than later this summer. So that's great news. I do appreciate you giving us the download for myself, for listeners. There's a lot of great films to keep an eye on. And again, for folks who enjoyed this conversation, you can head to thecinematropolis.com to check out all of Daniel Bokemper's coverage. I know there was more. There was documentaries. We ran out of time to talk about those, but
it's okay.
Either way, you can check out the deadcenterfilm.org, the virtual film festival, place number 1. If you found these films interesting, check to see what's available, especially the shorts. I'm going to bet a lot of those actually made their way to the online portal. And then number 2, Dan Bokemper, thecinematropolis.com, his write-ups. Or number 3, if you just like this conversation anyway, if you like listening to people talk about movies this way, the Cinematic Schematic, the Cinematropolis on YouTube, or your preferred podcast player. Follow us here. We have, we're going to be back in normal programming next week with our review of Disclosure Day. So it's we took a little break to talk about deadCenter, but we're going to be back to talk aliens. Don't worry.
Yes.
Anyway, those are your 3 action items, your 3 pieces of homework. deadcenterfilm.org to watch the shorts, cinematropolis.com to read Dan Bokemper's coverage, and any podcast player or YouTube in particular for this podcast. Check it out there. Dan Bokemper, any final words you want to say about deadCenter before we close out the show?
No. I mean, watch it if you can. If you can get in on the virtual film fest, please do. If you could make a future deadCenter, because they're going to keep running strong. Again, it's a festival that just keeps giving and giving, so be sure to check it out. And yeah, keep an eye out for some of the films that we know are getting distribution, as much as I hope Mallory's Ghost gets it. I Want Your Sex, as well as Gangland, which was also known as Keep Quiet, but again, Gangland, starring Lou Diamond
Lou
Phillips.
Diamond
Yeah,
Phillips.
get it. It should be available relatively soon, I would imagine, but that one for sure, I Want Your Sex, you can catch in theaters here at the end of July.
Excellent. Lots of good stuff. And last call out, if you live in the Tulsa area, we do have some Tulsa listeners, as I'm familiar. There is going to be the deadCenter Film Festival experience in Tulsa, and looks like it is going to be at the Philbrick Museum of Art on June 26th. As well as I think they might be doing something with the Circle Cinema. So yeah, deadcenterfilm.org. Check out the Tulsa experience if you're interested in that. Maybe you live in Oklahoma City and you want to keep the party going. June 26th, you can head to Tulsa, or if you live in Tulsa, didn't make it to OKC, it's an opportunity for you to get a little bite-sized bit of that experience. And like I said earlier, they are playing films that are exclusive to Tulsa, largely. So good stuff. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dan, for joining us today. Where can people follow you and your work online?
Yeah. You can find me at the Cinematropolis, I think, first and foremost, but also check out flickattack.com. Have a few recent reviews there, as well as I need to be better about it, but I've been trying to post more to my Instagram. That's at broken_dandy. You can find me sharing stuff about the thing as I work on, also where Caleb happens to tag me. So if you're following the Cinematropolis, you're probably going to see my handle as well. So again, as long as you're following that, you'll inevitably find me. He keeps bringing me around, so it keeps adding to my growing IMDb credits that I forgot I had. I know. Yeah.
Every episode is an appearance, Daniel. You are our most popular guest.
Yes.
So congratulations for keeping that party going.
Keep my ego in check for now, but
we bring you around because it's your pleasure to be around, and I'm just thankful that you keep showing up. So Dan Bokemper, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today.
Hey, always great talking to you, man, too. Thank you so much for having me. And again, just a big thank you to deadCenter, as well as the staff and the volunteers that make it happen. I mean, we're really lucky to have this in Oklahoma City. So I suspect this is its 26th anniversary. I imagine we're in for exponentially more. And I can't wait to hopefully be a part of them in some way. So yeah, deadCenter, thank you so much for keeping it strong, keeping filming and filmmaking in Oklahoma just great. And I don't know. It's always
nice
good to celebrate art. Come on,
celebrate art, to celebrate film. And I think, as I said in our preview episode, the deadCenter Film Festival sort of represents a place where the filmmakers, the film watchers, the film critics, everyone kind of get together and celebrate all the big accomplishments in Oklahoma film of that year. So hats off to everyone on the staff, the programming team in particular. Those who, I think usually regular appear on the show: LaRon Chapman, co-host, Sunrise Tipicani, Paris Burris, Cam Chavez Rojas, Julia Witcher. Yeah. Anyway, I probably Kevin Ely. Anyway, amazing programming team, but also the folks who are not the programming team. Thanks so much for operationalizing and making Oklahoma City a great place to watch films. You can catch up with my stuff over on all the social media channels. C Masters Talk. That's letter C Masters Talk. Otherwise, we'll catch you again next time.